before we start, this one has gore mentioned, but it's not too descriptive. Okay. James Potter, Remus Lupin, Sirius Black, Peter Pettigrew, pause for breath, and The Prisoner of Azkaban by gonzoclock. Gonzoclock. Chapter 8. What do you mean we won't be able to run the moon tonight? James asks. Well, it's more like a whine, because that's what it is. He's whining. At least he's man enough to admit it to himself. Remus sighs and puts his book to the side. He looks like complete shit. There's just no reason. I'll be totally in control. Moony, 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 Sirius says, shaking his head. That makes it even better. We have to run. God, Remus says, throwing up his hands. Fine. Hang on, Merlin, Peter says. What do you care? Remus asks, turning to Pete. I thought you just spent the whole time on Prongs' antlers. Well, yeah, Peter said, but it's much, much easier to sneak a human out of the castle than it is to sneak a whole werewolf out. What? Remus asks. Pete looks at him incredulously. You really think James was ever going to take no for an answer? He'd have gone Prongs and poked Moony all the way to the forest. James loves his friends. They just know him so well. That night, Harry had very kindly lent them his cloak. Before sneak from the castle, Sirius and James are helping a pale-faced and shaky Remus, and Peter has gone wormy so that there's more room under the cloak. Why are we doing this again? Remus gasps. James and Sirius share a look. They hadn't wanted to mention it in front of the boy, but they have some doubts about the effectiveness of this potion. James wants to believe that Old Man Snape wouldn't purposefully sabotage the dosage to get Moony expelled and or executed, but that's really not a risk he is ever going to be willing to take. Just a little further, Moons, Sirius says. Remus grits his teeth and leans his forehead against Sirius's shoulder. A myriad of complicated emotions flicker over Sirius's face. They hit the tree line, and James wastes no time in transforming. Romy and the invisibility cloak get tangled up in his antlers. What gives? Sirius hisses. Prongs tosses his head, gesturing to Remus. Realization dawns on Sirius's face, and he hastily shoves Remus up onto Prongs. Then goes Padfoot once he's reasonably sure that Remus is secure. Prongs is still closer to an adolescent deer than an adult stag, so Remus is a bit heavy, but the boy is so frail that it's not too much trouble to carry him. Prongs looks up to the sky. They probably have 5 or so minutes till the moon rises. With that in mind, he takes a step into the forest, then another, then he's running. If he could, he'd let out a whoop of joy. Unfortunately, Prongs is a deer, so instead, he focuses on leaping and bounding through the forest, mindful of his 2 passengers all the while. Prongs loves to run, loves it more than flying, feeling of every muscle, tendon, and joint working in tandem to propel him through the forest is unbeatable. Prongs wonders if he might be able to outrun the moon. Run and run, catch up with the sun, then Remus would be spared this. Remus tenses up and lets out a groan, and Prongs skids to an abrupt stop. He bends down, letting Remus roll off of his back, and steps back a bit. Remus is in so much pain that he's past words now, just laying on the ground in the fetal position as his hands claw into the dirt and leaves on the ground. Padfoot lets out a whine, but doesn't dare approach. A werewolf is at their most dangerous right as they transform. Well, for other animals, anyway. A werewolf is at their most dangerous to people or not. Prongs shies backwards a bit as Remus lets out a hoarse scream at the moon as the moonlight breaks through the clouds and illuminates the clearing. Prongs tries to focus on the ambient sounds of the forest and not the wet, cracking sound of one of his best friend's bones snapping and elongating. As the scream turns into a long howl, Padfoot can't help but join in, as per usual. Prongs snorts, then dances from side to side as the scent of wolf fills the air. He knows logically that Moony poses no danger to Prongs. The the deer's instincts to run from a wolf is deeply ingrained in there, and Prongs has to fight it every time. Unlike Padfoot, he can't just give in to his instincts. After another couple agonizing moments, the howling and whimpering sounds em- em- emanating from Mooney subside, and he sits up, pawing at his snout and blinking. As always, Prongs' heart skips a couple beats at the sight of the massive wolf. His fur is the same sandy brown color Remus's hair is, but in the moonlight it shines like a pale gold. His fangs and claws are sharp, much sharper than they would be on a normal wolf, but that's not what scares Prongs the most. No, the worst part is the eyes. As a wolf, Minnie's eyes literally emit light. Prongs takes a hesitant step forward. Is that Minnie in there? Remus. Mooney stands up, shaking off. Padfoot bounds forward, falling easily into a play bow. Mooney blinks again, then falls into a bow as well, tongue lolling. Padfoot lets out a little yelp of delight, and just like that, they're off, tearing through the forest and barking at each other. Prongs wastes no time in taking off after them, able to relish in the feeling of freedom that accompanies the nights they run the moon at last. So far, Mooney is acting normal. They'll have to check in with Remus later to see if the potion held. A couple days later, James is walking down the halls and whistling when he hears Harry's voice. He sounds mad. James quickens his pace. He rounds the corner and sees Harry. His face is flushed in anger and his fists are clenched. James grimaces. He's not sure what this is about, but he doubts it's good. Shut off, Malfoy. Harry grits ass, staring down a boy that looks to be around Harry's age. The kid is pale, pointy, and undoubtedly the kid of Lucius Malfoy and Narcissa Black. Or Malfoy now, probably. He's staring at Harry right back, looking relaxed with his arms folded and eyebrows raised imperiously. He opens his mouth to say something, then his eyes catch on James. Harry follows his gaze and relaxes minutely. Well then, on that extremely eloquent note, Malfoy sniffs, I'll take my leave. I hate him so much, Harry grumbles to James as they watch Malfoy leave. Oh, James says, raising an eyebrow. Can I ask why? Harry kicks to the ground. He's just, it's a mix of pureblood dickheadedness and the bone he has to pick with me. I swear, it's like he goes out of his way to find and torment me. James lets out a snort. You can practically hear the wedding bells already. Harry shoots him a betrayed glare, and James clears his throat. Sorry, James says, and clears his throat again. Just sorry. What are you even sorry for? Harry asks, betrayal turning into suspicion. James opens his mouth to respond, but right as he does, the dinner bell rings. James can't help but grimace at Harry's flinch. That said, he is also relieved. It's not the first time James has quite literally been saved by the bell, and it won't be the last. Lads, James says later that night in their dorm. Not all of us are lads, Ron points out. Lads is a gender-neutral term, Remus, Sirius, and Peter all recite at the same time. Hermione snorts. Can't argue with that. Why are we here? I was getting to that, James says, then straightens up. You may be wondering why I gathered you here together. Hermione Harry is cut off by a gentle elbow to the side, courtesy of Sirius. Do you want this to last all night? Sirius hisses over to him. Harry rolls his eyes, but gestures for James to continue. You may be wondering why I gathered you here tonight, James says again. With a dramatic flourish, he waves his wand over to where he'd hung up a bedsheet. The curtain falls away, revealing the giant corkboard stuck to the wall. That's right, lads. Tonight's the night, James says, looking at the corkboard in grim satisfaction. We're going to figure out what our prank is going to be, for real this time. I admire your optimism, Bloom says dryly, but you've said that every night for a week now. Can't we just drop it? James rounds on Remus, pointing threateningly at him. It's this or the apology. According to Remus, the potion had worked wonders, which means Severus Snape is officially in James's good books, whether Snape likes it or not. Remus buries his face in his hands and groans. I'm confused, Harry cuts in. Why are we here again? Yeah, Ron says. No offense, but we are not really the pranking type. Because we get to go and be the get into life-threatening danger type, Hermione sighs. Come on, Ron says, looking over at the girl. As if you aren't 43% of the reason we get into those situations in the first place. That, Peter says, is a really specific number. Ron's good at numbers, Harry says. Say, Ron says, perking up. Speaking of, anyone wants to play a round of chess with me? Pete gets an interested gleam in his eye, and James decides it's time to step in. To answer your question, you're here because, quite frankly, we're shit at coming up with nice pranks. James ignores Pete and Ron exchanging a look he's pretty sure means we'll talk just later, in favour turning and nodding to Harry, who was very politely raised his hand. Honestly, what a good kid. Good job, original James and Lily. Why are you doing a nice prank? Harry asks. I mean, I'm obviously a fan, but... And why is the alternative an apology? Hermione asks. James hesitates, looking over at Remus. Remus shakes his head, and James nods, before turning back to Hermione. Classified, James says. Hermione sits back, looking completely unbothered. Great, she'll probably have it all figured out by this time next week. Who are you pranking? Ron asks. The Slytherins, Sirius says disgustedly. Ron's expression turned into a matching look of disgust. Ew. I don't know if I can participate in this. Morally, I mean. And now that I'm thinking about it, medically too. Ron, Hermione says, rolling her eyes. Can't help that I'm allergic to sliminess, Ron shrugs. I literally saw you and Daphne Greengrass sitting in the library talking Quidditch earlier today, Hermione says, sounding exasperated. Some things are worth taking a Benadryl for, Ron says. James has no idea what that is, but Remus, Pete, and Harry all look like they're holding back laughter. It must be a muggle thing then. Ron, Hermione says, looking at Ron with a deadly serious expression on her face. I'm gonna kill you. Moving on, Harry cuts in. Nice prank. What ideas have you had already? Oh, lots, Pete says. Tons even, Sirius agrees. We've got nothing, Remus says. We have a little bit, James says hurt. We thought money? We don't have money, Remus says sadly. I have money, Harry pipes up. We're not taking your money, James says, feeling a stomach twist. It should be your money, Harry says. James clenches his jaw, but he's not backing down. This has been something of a recurring argument between the two of them, and James will be damned before his own kid outstubborns him. James, the original, and Lily obviously wanted Harry to inherit everything. James is going to go against their wishes just because some unprecedented freak magical accident happened. Brew some Felix Felicis and sneak it into their food during breakfast. Give them a day of better than usual luck, Hermione says. There, done. Can we go now? James, Remus, Sirius, and Peter all turn to stare at the girl. Ron and Harry are looking at her too. Instead of awe, their expressions are more akin to pride. How would we? That is such a difficult potion, Remus says, shaking his head. There's no way. Not too bad, Hermione shrugs. Veritas serum is harder. There's a moment of dead silence, then the room bursts into a cacophony of sound. No way, Remus whispers. Could you do wolfsbane? Sirius asks. You didn't tell me that, James says, turning to Harry. I didn't think it was applicable. Hermione, I know I've been mad at you for the Crookshanks thing this year, but you need to know that you're the coolest. That is so illegal, Pete whispers, eyes wide. James rolls his eyes, as if Peter is anything but impressed. Who does he think he's fooling? I dumped it, Hermione protests. Face scarlet. I just wanted to see if I could do it. You dumped it? Sirius asks, incredulous. No, Hermione admits. Does it work? Peter asks, sitting forward. Of course it does, Hermione says, offended. Don't tell me. Hermione, please tell me you didn't test it on yourself, Remus asks tiredly. Of course not, Hermione says, still sounding offended. Then how did you test it? James asks. He's always afraid to ask. Hermione's eyes dart over to where Harry is sitting. Harry is studiously looking down at his hands. Harry? James starts slowly. Okay, so I volunteered, Harry says, looking up. I don't know why this is still such a big deal. There are so many ways that potion can kill and or mess your brain up forever, Remus says, looking queasy. Harry shoots a sheepish smile at the other boy. James buries his face in his hands and groans. Harry, would it kill you to think before you act, even once? It's like some divine comic retribution, Peter says wonderingly. And it's beautiful. James points at Peter, glaring at the other boy. You don't have any room to talk, mister. Will you transfigure me some guilt so I can see if the mermaids are actually as mean as everyone says they are? Were they? Hermione asks, turning to look at Peter. Yeah, Peter says, shrugging. So, Sirius says, evidently getting tired of the conversation. Felix Felicis? Do you still have that? Okay, so I haven't actually brewed that one yet, Hermione admits, but it's definitely easier than Veritaserum. Don't you need a solid gold cauldron for Felix Felicis? Peter asks. Where are you getting the money for that? I have money, Harry says again. You have a trust fund, which will get you through school until you come of age and can access the other Potter vaults, Hermione says. We've been over this. Harry shoots her a glare, which she returns in kind. Ron just looks tired. Seems like money might be a bit of a recurring argument for them too. Sirius turns to James. Can you transfigure one? James cocks his head. How long do you need it to last? Gold is one of those transfigurations that doesn't stick. Gills too, Peter mutters. Don't we literally have access to the one magical object that can make gold transfiguration stick? Ron asks. There's a silence for a moment. Well, James says. Now I feel stupid. You are stupid, Sirius says. I'll need you to do some more research on the potion, Hermione decides. I'll need to do some more research on the potion, Hermione decides, cutting in. But I'll get back to you on that. Sounds good, James says, shooting her a smile and thumbs up. In that case, we'll meet back up here in a couple days. Hammer out the details. In the meanwhile, brainstorm other potential options just in case. The others nod, and James feels the smile spread even wider. It's good to be back. Okay. That is the end of the chapter. There are some fun little notes. Why does Ron know what Benadryl is? He likes listening to Hermione talk about Muggle stuff is why. That's fun. I'm recording this at the same time as chapter 7, so it's still the middle of the night. It is currently 10 past 12, because of course it is. Really, sleep. I'm not doing anything tomorrow, so is that a promise I'll record things? No, look at me today. I mean, I'm recording now. I am recording today. Look at it, it's the 29th. I lost track of the date a long time ago. It's the 29th. Oh, I'm coming back to school like too soon. Oh. Hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. It's still a fun little chapter. I don't have much to say. I kind of forgot most of this. The problem. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.